Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Senioritis V 2021 reunion episode. I'm Matt Lyons. With me here today is
Derek Terrell,
Aaron Johnson,
and Joe Beaver.
Now, we graduated in 2021, but we are all in a very interesting spot. Two of us have another year to go. One of us has a little bit more than a year to go. And one of us has actually graduated college.
Yep, as of 2 weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Joe, tell us what that graduation experience was like.
Oh, it feels good. Just such a long journey. Felt like I was sprinting a marathon. I don't know if we'll let the audience know. I went for nuclear medicine. So it's kind of a different college setup. I think it's a little different from the traditional, 4-year degree thing. So it's a degree in 3. But then only 15 months is actually spent learning nuke med, and then you're going to clinical sites all throughout that. So it's a process. Definitely a long journey, but happy it's over.
So there is hope for us.
There is hope.
Make it to
Yes.
the end.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you know that when you applied to the school that this was your plan, 3 years in and out?
Sorta. I kind of got lucky, I'd say. I don't know. Part of it was it was the only option actually that I knew of at the time. So not many nuke med programs. It's a pretty small field. So there's only actually one other school, I think, in Mass, which is Regis, and then I went to MCPHS. And then the Regis program I didn't even know about. So I kind of just was like, I guess MCP is my only option. They do it in 3 years. I think Regis does it in 4. So I just kind of fell into that and worked out, luckily. Yeah.
Nice.
There you go. Well, the world is wondering what's next for Joe Beaver.
The world, going to be going to Brigham Women's Hospital over in Boston. Working there for a bit, and then we'll see where things take me. So
There you
awesome.
go.
Yeah.
Now, I'm wondering, because a lot of what's coming up for me this senior year is saying bye to friends, a lot of lasts coming up. I've definitely made a lot of close friends in school and stuff like that. Is it kind of weird in general, maybe some acquaintances or friends that you had met at college in other majors, you still have another year, but you're done? Is that a weird thing?
So I feel more tightly knit with the nuke med people. So we're all together. There was about 12 of us that ended up graduating. So I feel like I know them more because a lot of it was online, and then we'd meet in person every now and then. So what will be weird is, let's say I went to the same clinical site as someone else. I was with them the whole semester long, 4 days a week, basically doing the job. So now they may be working somewhere else, and then now I'm not going to really see them. So that would be a big change. I met a lot of great people, and then also going to each clinical site, I met so many awesome people along the way that helped me so much. So that was that's gonna be a different kind of feeling, just staying at the same spot for a bit. So yeah.
So did you commuted all 3 years,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So do you find it hard to get a lot of close relationships on campus?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a difference. I mean, the other thing with Zoom too is I feel like there's less room for if you show up to class 10 minutes early and you talk with some people sitting near you. There's none of that really, you know what I mean? So really, other than the labs, we didn't have that super big connection, which I think over time we got there, but definitely took a little while to kind of get there. And I think commuting was different. Before I started that 15-month part of the program where it was just regular classes, the prereqs and all that sort of stuff, there was definitely more of that where it was more connections there because we were there 10 minutes early or a little bit after class or something. But yeah, it was definitely different. With you guys, you guys are all living there, right? So
yeah, you missed the freshman scramble where everyone you don't know anyone on campus and whatnot. Correct me if I'm wrong. Was it more comfortable being being on campus? Were you totally remote, right? Totally on Zoom?
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah, so then I guess it was more comfortable because you usually went to class and then just kind of went home.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So but now you're seeing people in person, right?
Yeah.
Or you were because you graduated. Sorry.
Yeah.
But so do you think that's when most of your connections kind of showed up?
Yeah, definitely. I think the clinic sites definitely made the most connections there. I mean, there's countless people that I follow them on Instagram now. I have their phone numbers. We text each other, that sort of thing. But yeah, as far as the class side of things, I definitely was more limited than I think your traditional way of being in person. Or if you're staying at a dorm or something, you have a roommate, of course you guys are going to be friends or hopefully going to be friends and all that. So yeah, definitely made a difference for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely a very different experience. I mean, I went into school and I just met some random kid on social media and we decided to be roommates and we became really close. And then literally just half my friends are people who knocked on our door and were want to hang out, freshman year, and I guess we're still friends now and stuff. So I don't know. It's been awesome. A lot of the friends I also made on campus were from like work. I've worked like 4 or 5 different campus jobs throughout my college career. A lot of them at once. So I don't know. Just between clubs and stuff like that. That's where a lot of like my socializations happen in college, and that's probably the hardest part about seeing it end. It's less about the classes and the services and stuff like that. But it's gonna be so weird when everyone like moves away. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really like hit my stride until I joined a bunch of clubs on campus. Like I joined the trap and ski club. I met a lot of my good friends there. I'm doing something different. You got like a really like motivated, awesome 3 years and done. I'm taking my time. I'm going 5 years, but the whole last 7.5 months, I've just been working. It's definitely different. It kind of sucks to graduate late, but it's good to have the work experience. It's a up and down kind of situation, but I'm not seeing it end. It is looming in the distance, and I can empathize with all your feelings. But what about you, Matt?
In terms of like socializing?
Yeah, I mean, you're going into your last year. How are you feeling? Are you nervous? I mean, and you're doing something even different than the rest of us as well. So do you want to shine a light on that?
No, absolutely. So it's going to be interesting. I do have a little bit of like jitters about it. Like there's a lot of like unknown possibilities. Oh, good point. So come January, I am moving to Los Angeles for my last semester of school. Emerson, I go to Emerson College. We're in Boston, but they have a campus in LA, and their LA campus is infinitely nicer than the Boston one, which doesn't really make a lot of sense, but I'm looking forward to experiencing that. And I'll be taking 2 courses in addition to an internship that could bear fruit and could lead me to stay out there if the gods shine light upon me. If not, I'll come back here or see what kind of shakes out. But in terms of like the socializing and that coming to an end, it's interesting because like it's not as long or intense as like our like early ed experience, if that makes sense. Because we like grew up together, but these 3 and 4 years are like they're so instrumental, and there's a lot of like vulnerability because a lot of people for the first time are living away from their home in like a completely new environment. Some people from a different state, in my experience, probably in yours as well, with a bigger school, people from all around the world. And so it's really interesting to connect with people and see. It's weird to like talk about like, oh yeah, down on Green Street, and people are like, where's Green Street? Like I'm from Australia. I don't know what you're talking about. It's like, oh, you don't have a Green Street? But it's nice to kind of realize that like everybody's kind of in the same spot, and then also meet people that are completely different than you and have different skill sets and experience than you. So I am going to miss that. I have made some good friends that I'm sure I'll stay in contact with. Most of my friends are pursuing the exact same thing as me, so we might lend a helping hand every now and then. But yeah, it's a good experience. I am nervous for LA, but that like kind of pales in comparison to how excited I am for it. So
yeah, man, I hope that's awesome for you.
Thank you.
It's
Me
super
too.
exciting. It's funny now thinking about it that my next spring semester is also going to be just an internship. So I'm done with classes after the fall. So it's funny how the 4 of us, none of us have quite the traditional 4-year then get your diploma thing. But yeah, I'm also same thing, excited for internship and wherever that brings. I think like the uncertainty of it is equally like scary as exciting, because a lot of people that I've talked to in other majors, I have a lot of friends across like very different disciplines, and I have friends in like the police program, which they still have a whole nother year after and stuff like that. And it's so weird to see how soon things are going to turn out, because you're going to LA. I have no idea where I'm going for my internship. I could end up in LA. We'll hang out a lot if I do. Could end up, I looked at DC and New York as well, or Boston. So not knowing where I'm going to be going after Christmas is scary but exciting. So yeah.
So how does graduation work then? Are you graduating in the like technically having your ceremony in the fall?
No, so I'll still like walk and get my diploma in May with the rest of my class, but I'll be fully done with classes come December. So I'll have like a full semester of not taking classes and being away from campus, and then I'll come back to campus to graduate, which will feel kind of weird. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting.
The location you're going to, is it something that they kind of just assign you? Like, can you choose, or is it okay?
No. So you work with an internship coordinator,
Okay, gotcha.
and they don't necessarily choose. You give them a lot of like your preferences. You also need to sustain a certain GPA to go out of state or out of the country. My GPA qualifies for both those things, so I could go anywhere really. But the internship coordinator helps you get an internship that goes with the career path you want to pursue after your internship, and ensure that you're where you want to be and that you're happy. So it's very much a collaborative process, but then you also have to show off the work that you've done the past 3 years and show that the school's reputation's at stake when they send an intern to somewhere. So you need to prove to this internship coordinator, who I've never met before, that I can do well at say a National Geographic in DC, which is one of the ones I was looking at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's an interesting process, and it's a process that can't start until the fall semester, because right now they're still worrying about summer students who are looking to go on internship in the fall. So it's just kind of weird thinking about how I'm not going to even be starting the process of where I'm going to end up after December until probably a few weeks from now, which is exciting, but yeah, we'll see.
So you kind of touched upon it a little bit in terms of like not knowing. When we all graduated, we knew we were going to a specific school. On our last episode, we all wore our different universities, like colors or sweatshirts or whatever. Is it, now that we're like almost towards the end or have finished, you have a clear kind of path. But within that path, like, do you know, like, I'm going to work here and then hope to get this raise, or I'll go to a different hospital? Like, is the uncertainty is it just as big and as much as when we first graduated, or are things just a little bit more focused for each of us?
Yeah, it's really good. I'd say like the biggest uncertainty for me now is like, will I like the job I'm going to?
Yeah.
That's definitely a big thing, because everywhere you work, of course, there's going to be things that kind of suck, right? And you have to figure out, okay, what things can I take the most? You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be a sucky thing. What can I handle of the sucky things that exist? So that was kind of what I looked at. And so I think that's the biggest thing now. Going forward, I kind of have an idea in my mind. I really like what we do. I love talking about it and like telling people about it, teaching them about it. So I'm hoping down the road, like over the summer, I did like a peer tutoring sort of thing for the class below me. So down the line, I'd like to maybe like help out the school if I could. I've been in talks with the program director, Dr. Gilmore over there. He's a super nice guy. He's awesome. Been working on that. So that's something I kind of lined up. But there's also lots of research stuff going on. It's the field's kind of at a weird point. There's the PET scans are kind of booming. It's a newer-ish kind of thing. So there's lots of new drugs that are coming out that diagnose this, that, or whatever. So that's something I kind of thought about. I know I want to go somewhere else. I just don't know necessarily where. But I think the biggest thing right now is like, will I like the job? Commuting in out of Boston, obviously gonna be really tough. So those kind of things are on my mind for sure. Yeah. How about you guys? You guys have any sort of like, now that you're at this point, anything that like maybe you didn't know about, like didn't expect with college or that sort of stuff?
I'll take it. I mean, I guess I'm in a little bit of a unique situation because I've been to school, but I also past 7 months. So I went for 2.5 years. I was in school, and then I just did like a 7-month internship with the company, and it does bring a lot of things into light. There's a lot of things you do like and a lot of things you don't like, and it put into perspective just like one, how many different roles there are, because I'm in computer science. I want to be a software engineer, and there's software engineering roles everywhere, but they all entail different things. Like I went into this job, I think I was a software engineer for General Dynamics, and I thought I'd be doing a lot of software engineering. It was actually a lot of hardware too. Like it was a lot of things I didn't expect to do. It's not something. It wasn't a terrible experience, but it's not necessarily the experience that I wanted fully. So it's cool. I kind of learned that like I really might go to a lot of different jobs to really find my niche. It might take a while, but it'll get there eventually. So I guess I noticed I need to do a little more searching around.
Yeah. To kind of culminate like Joe's question and Matt's question a little bit. Yeah. For me, I think I'm definitely a little more uncertain now than I was coming out of high school. I think maybe it was like a false sense of certainty, and I was like, this is how it's going to be. And
100%.
It kind of just worked out that way for me. You know, I was really excited for college. You know, I had visited Fitchburg State multiple times. I had talked to people. It seemed like such a welcoming community, and I was just so excited to get there and get started. And I kind of had it all like figured out how it was going to be, and luckily, like I made friends right away, and I had a great time. I enjoyed my classes right away. Like I was very fortunate in that. I know some people's college experiences aren't quite like that. But with this, I'm definitely feeling a lot more uncertain. But again, like you said earlier, Matt, like it's so exciting, isn't it? Just like not knowing what's going to happen in 6 months, you know, or maybe even less than that, I guess. But just being able to kind of focus on right now, and then start to get excited for that. I've really found a love for travel recently, and I studied abroad in Italy for a month, and I traveled all over Italy and just really kind of got that travel bug. So the idea of maybe living somewhere else, even if it's for 4 or 5 months, is really exciting to me. Just exploring new places and stuff like that has really been exciting. So, you know, as much as it can be scary to like move away for, you know, who knows how long, it's actually really exciting, I think. So,
going off of what you just said about like that it's exciting to not know, having like travel, does that kind of like add fuel to that fire? Because there's something about like if anyone's like been to a different country or a different state, especially like maybe not with like a family, because like with families come like itineraries and plans, but when you're just out, whether it be like in New York City, I went to New York City by myself in November. I just took a bus and just walked around. And having lived in Italy for a month, you just got back from Hawaii. Is there like, there's something about like just having like, you have money that you've saved in your pocket, walking around and being like, oh, that bakery looks good, I'll have that. Yeah. Like, oh, $1.25 for pizza? Sign me up.
Yeah.
That pizza was terrible. I'm just kidding. The pizza in New York is fantastic. But like there's something about just kind of walking around and being excited about not having a plan. Has that been like a good experience in college of like not knowing? Like, because at least for me, like the not knowing was a sense of fear a little bit and anxiety going into college. But having had more life experience, there's kind of it is definitely anxiety inducing. I'm not going to lie about that. But there is a little bit more excitement in the terms of like anything could happen. I'm just going to roll with the punches. Has that been everybody else's experience or not quite?
I think, you know, a lot of, you know, what we talked about on this podcast, and I hate to bring it up in 2024, but it was COVID. And I think that the repetition of like every day being so similar for so long, especially during like such formative high school years, the adventure of like not knowing where I'm going to eat lunch in a few hours was like really exciting when I was over in Italy. You know what I mean? Like, I would get out of class and just have the whole afternoon to do like whatever I want, and I would just walk around and like, oh, this park looks cool, or you know, this place looks cool, and just like meeting random people. And you know, I went by myself to a sports bar to watch a soccer game, and I met this guy named Eastkill, and we just talked the whole time, and I got his contact information, and we still text back and forth, and just like going on adventures like that is so fun. And you know, it gives you like a new appreciation for like uncertainty, and it can, having those life experiences can help change your mindset on the uncertainty. So I don't know, I'm very excited to move to a new place and just kind of explore. So yeah.
What about you guys?
Well, for me, I think that I'm definitely more a naturally anxious person, so the uncertainty definitely, I think, affected me a little differently. I think the big thing was, you know, semester would end, new clinical site. You know, the first one, it's like, oh, I've never done this before. This is like a whole new world. I've never done patient-facing stuff. We've only talked about this, and it's like, you're worried, like, what if it's just not for me? You know, that's always a possibility, right? So that was something that definitely was on my mind. And then you get there, you like it, you try it out, but then that semester ends, new clinical site, you don't really know where you're going, and then you hear rumors like, oh, this clinical site does this, you know, they do this to the students, oh, don't, you know, you don't want to go there, you know, so there's always that. Now that I'm kind of over it, like over that hump, I guess, it's kind of nice that I got a little taste of like, all right, this place has this to offer, this this I didn't like at this place, you know. And every clinical site I went to, I ended up enjoying a lot, met people, of course. So, and then at every site too, there's always a few patients that you meet and you're like, oh, you remember them. Like they were really fun to be with, or they had a really great outlook. So that was a big thing that I really enjoyed. So again, there was uncertainty, but I think it was all for the best. It got me out of my comfort zone. So that was good.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, like just moving and like, was that hard? Like every time when you were just like really enjoying a spot, having to leave, or were there some spots where it's like, oh, ready to go to the next one?
No, none of them were like, get me out of here. But the big thing that kind of stunk was like, you just get used to like how they did things, and it's like, all right, later, you know, you're not going back there unless you work there. So because every hospital has their own protocols on this is how they do this test or that test, and then you get that stuff all down, and then it's just like, oh, on to the next one. So that was like the biggest annoying thing probably about it. But yeah, overall it wasn't like too bad.
And a semester feels like the perfect amount of time to get used to it.
Yeah, right. I know it's like you always feel like really good in like the last like 3 weeks, and you're like, oh, I got this down, and then on to the next one. So that was always tough. But, yeah. How about you, Aaron?
To recap the question, just anxious in a new place.
Don't remember. No, it was about like initially being anxious, like of the uncertainty and whether or not your life experience, whether it be in college or just your general life experience, if that has kind of like given you an appreciation for not knowing things.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess to piggyback off your point, being cooped up, it maybe gave all of us like a sense of wonder. Like, all right, it's like I want to go out. Like it's kind of why I picked the school. I wanted to go out on these like 2 6-month, 8-month periods and just go to a new place with a new job, explore. I've always had that. I've always had that sense of like I want to go, and I got it. I went to Groton and it was really fun. Although like it took me so long to settle into a new place. It took me so long. Like I was there for 7 months. I think I got like post-move anxiety. Like I wasn't nervous to go there, but after I was there, I was like, crap. I'm not around my family. I'm not around my friends. Like I was driving home every weekend. But then it took like once I finally got comfortable with where I was, it was great. So like I think maybe I learned that like maybe I have that sense of wonder with vacations. I like that little set date of like you said, like you went to New York for like a weekend, right? Have a weekend just to go and explore, but I always have my home base to come back to.
Yeah.
That extended long period of time, that it makes me very uneasy. And I didn't think that. I thought like I would be able to move away and just say, see you later, everybody, and have like a awesome 6 months. Yeah. But it's cool that I learned that now though, and not have like a full-time job that I move away from, and I'm like, oh no, I'm stuck.
Yeah, you've had a really interesting experience because you've lived you had the dorm life in a triple, and then you shared an apartment with somebody, so you had a roommate, but you still had to like buy your own utilities, like your own groceries, that thing. And then you've also just like moved away for 7 months in Groton, Connecticut, place you haven't been to before, and had your own apartment by yourself.
Apartment's a stretch.
You had your own closet with your own groceries, like just by yourself.
Yeah,
so
everything.
Do you have like a preference? Has that kind of like, having lived the adult life for 7 months and then a different version of the adult life for like a year, has that affected like you being at home like in the summer months, or just like wanting to like, I don't want to say be a kid again, but kind of like be a kid again and like
absolutely paying rent, like it stinks. Like in the school year when you pay it, it's like fine, but you just feel like an adult when you're like working 40 hours and then like you're paying for a place and all that stuff, and it just man. 1 second.
Do we need some tissues here?
No, I'm not getting emotional. My throat just got dry.
All right.
Wait, guys. I kind of forgot your question. I'm so sorry.
It was about whether or not you're kind of like, when you're out of that adult setting, if you're kind of like chasing that lack of responsibility like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I want I like having the summers, like going on vacations and whatnot.
That's for you,
Thank you.
AJ.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. It's an emotional time. But, yeah, I just need. Sorry, I need a lot. Do you want some?
No, I'm good for now. Knock on wood. I almost died earlier. I was sneezing a bunch. Let's move on to a less emotional topic. I think we did this last episode. I don't remember. It was a very long time ago. But if anything new has happened, but like, tell me like your favorite college experience, whether it was like a class or like a thing you did with friends. I don't know why I'm doing political hands right now, but I am. What was your favorite college memory thus far? Don't all go at once. Joe, go.
Okay. All right. Favorite college moment. I feel like just like the moment of like, oh, this is what I want to do. Like I think that was big for me because it was one of those things like neither of my parents were in healthcare. So so my mom works in HR. My dad works for National Grid. He's a troubleshooter for them. So I didn't have anybody in like healthcare as like parents or neither of my siblings really. So that was kind of like a big thing. I'm like, man, what if this like just sucks? Like, what if I hate this, And I just wasted, because at that point I already gone through 2.5 years. I just had like the 15 months left or so. So that was kind of a big thing. So I think the moment like I went to clinic, I'm like, wow, this is like really what I wanted to do. That was a big moment. And then just like getting used to things like the feeling of like, wow, I can place an IV now on someone, or I can do this test. Like, it's a nice feeling. So I think that was like, I don't know if it was necessarily a moment. I guess it was just kind of like a culminating sort of thing.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Real quick, did you have like experiences like when you're working with a patient where they're like, oh, you're just a student, you're just like an intern? Or was everyone kind of like
people
welcoming?
are pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah, people are actually surprisingly pretty good. I think they kind of feel you out. I feel like there's like a vetting process. Like, all right,
Yeah.
so you like,
100%,
you go
100%.
for, if I'm going for the IV and I'm just like shaking like uncontrollably and I'm trying to get the gloves on. Like the first time I went to go place an IV, this guy, he probably saw me shaking and I was like, oh boy, like this guy. So, the good sanitary thing to do is, you put hand sanitizer, rub it in, put your gloves on. So I made the mistake of putting soap on my hands. So I put the soap in my hands thinking it's hand sanitizer. I'm rubbing it. I'm like, it's not getting drier, So I'm putting that on and then I'm just like, screw it. I'm throwing the gloves on. So I cannot get this glove on for the life of me, and he's just seeing me shake. And I was with one of the Texas at Beth Israel, and I was with Karina. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna let Karina take over from here, and just like I just gave up. I was done. I was like, you know what? I've traumatized this guy enough just watching me, So
That's awesome.
yeah.
How many successful IVs have you placed?
Oh, now like hundreds. Like
there you go.
So
There you go.
Yeah.
AJ,
Oh, yeah, I'll take it.
Good on the line.
Locked eyes on you. So
Oh, fair enough. It's probably I'm part of the trap and ski club. I like I shoot guns, and I think that's been the most fun. Because like come back from class, like a hard week after like midterms or something.
just makes you want to shoot things.
No, it's like it's an entire Sunday. It's from like 9 to 5. It's like a part-time job on the weekend, but it's a whole day. You're just with a bunch of friends and then just hanging out. So definitely that and the tournaments and all that stuff. It takes me away.
It does seem like a cool thing. Like I've seen you like load up and like go out early in the morning and stuff, but like I've never really thought of like getting like a group of friends together and like it's almost like a sports team, but you're not fighting other people. I mean, you kind of are, but like I don't know, you're shooting like clay pigeons.
Yeah, it's also very
It's like
similar
a-
to golf too. Like you go
yeah.
on like a 16 station course and you go out there for like 2 or 3 hours. So it's really really cool, and you cannot think of anything else while you do it. You're just purely focused on the clay. So it's honestly it's like total relaxation. Besides like my gun doesn't fit me though, so I always get this nasty cheek bruise after. So I got like this really puffy cheek and like my eye starts to shut. But yeah.
Have you gotten like really good at it? Like, are you like a sharpshooter now? Like
Yeah,
a total dead eye,
Dang, AJ.
No, it's over the past couple of years. Like I think I've been on the team for like 2 years, and it's really cool because we keep track of our scores every week. So you like every week you track and see like your progression and how like it's at like 25 for some games. So it's like when I started, I was shooting like 15 clays, but now I'm averaging around like 20, 21, and then the hope is to get to 25, but it's very hard. Yeah, so it's cool. It's like a little it's like a little competition with
Yeah,
yourself.
that's awesome. Yeah.
Nice.
That's awesome, dude. I have so many. I was hoping you guys would go first, so I could like organize which one I wanted to talk about. But I think number one was last semester. I worked on a film, and it was just so amazing. And it's because of the people I was working with, and it made me really realize that like, you can find camera tutorials on YouTube and stuff like that, but what you can't replace about film school is like the collaboration, and I'm sure you can attest to that. Working with such like talented people, I mean the writers of the script that I I worked on was just, they were amazing, and the whole crew was just so passionate and so good at what they were doing. Like, I was the producer, and then I was also assistant director. And as you know, Matt, assistant director is not at all what it sounds like.
No.
It's not the assistant to the director at all. It's much more of a set management type role, and just managing all these amazing people. Like our gaffer who was working with the lights, he was just fantastic, killing it everything he did, and just like the energy on that set was awesome. And I got to spend a lot of time with our actors too, who worked for very little stipend for us, and it was just awesome working with all these people with like such passion. And it really was like, yeah, this is like where I want to be. You know, I've worked on projects where, you know, the passion's not there, and people are like, oh, I like movies, I'll be a film major, you know what I mean? And then, you know, it was just really cool to work with just such passionate people, and it made me really like hone in on like what I want to do. And I think that is kind of like that pre-production and also like assistant directing, set managerial stuff, just kind of like checking in with all the different departments. So similar to Joe, like when I knew like this is definitely what I want to do, and not only like this is the field I want to work in, which I think I knew largely in part from Abington Cam and all our work here, but I finally found like this is the role I definitely want to do, and I definitely want to work here in this situation, and just being able to collaborate. I remember when we wrapped, I think maybe that if we're picking a moment, it would be that moment when we wrapped, and it was just so exciting, and it's just like the energy of all these people's really hard work and all the things we had to overcome on that set. So yeah, it was just awesome. So that would be mine.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have a couple. One of them is I met a guy in my writing the feature film class, which was my favorite class. And we just like, there are some people that you meet that you just have like a similar energy. And we were just like joking. Like we both took the work very seriously, but it was when like the like before class and like during the break, because the class was like 4 hours long. We just kept doing like different bits back and forth. And there was one time when the professor, he was showing a screening of like a clip, and he was like, do we want lights on or off? And the lights were on. He was like, I'll put them off. And he put them off. And we're like, can we go back to lights on? And he put them on. And then there was like 2 sets of lights, and we're like, well, how about just one? And he went with one. And we're like, can we go back to lights off again? And we did it like 4 times. He's like, all right, you guys are just screwing with me now. That just randomly popped in my head for some reason. I took a writing for comedy class, and our end project was we had to make like our own talk show. And my group decided that we should make a talk show based on Disney's Hall of Presidents, that after closing, all the presidents come to life and they do like a variety show. And I was like, this is the dumbest idea I've ever had, that they've ever had. And then, but like halfway through, I'm like, all right, I'm just going to embrace it. And so my job was writing the monologue, and I wrote a monologue as if I was Teddy Roosevelt. I can't repeat it for local access, but somebody read it out loud to the class, and it did really well. My professor came up to me and said that was really funny, and like recited like some of his favorite lines. I'm like, oh, that feels pretty good. And then lastly, when I think it was in February, I don't know if you guys know this, but the Beatles came out with a new song. They used like AI to like extract the vocals from a demo that John Lennon did. And I was super, super stoked for it. Just like Oasis might be reuniting tomorrow. But the album dropped, and my roommate, the next room over, is a huge Beatles fan. And we were kind of talking about it all week, and there was like a brief snippet that was released, but we didn't listen to that. And then when it was finally up, it was like 9 a.m, I went into his room because he has like nice speakers, and we just listened to the song in like complete silence and just like took it in like, wow, this is a new Beatles song in 2024. So that was pretty cool.
Nice.
So those are my moments, I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome, guys. Yeah, no, it's a great time. You know, I feel like I've had so many, and I could, you know, like the more we all talk about it, the more I think about, oh yeah, I had a similar experience, and you know, just, you know, I could go on and on about how awesome it was and all that, but it's crazy that it's coming to an end. I feel. Here's a question: do you guys feel like it went by fast? Particularly fast, or like particularly slow, or do you feel like sometimes it felt fast, sometimes it felt slow? Because for me, I cannot believe we're like almost done. It went by like that for me.
Kind of somewhere in the middle. Like the beginning is always like slow. I don't know. I guess it did go by fast. Cause like it's weird. Like when I think of like, yeah, I've been at the school for like 3 years, like that checks out mentally. I've lived in 3 different buildings. It makes sense.
That helps. Yeah.
But like when people say like I'm 21 years old, like I'm like, oh, I thought I was 19 like just 2 weeks ago. It's very strange. So when I think of it in terms of that, it has gone by very, very quickly. And there are some classes that I've taken where it's hard to like come up with a timeline, if that makes sense, of like when my class was. Because I thought I took a class 2 years ago and it was just a semester ago, and vice versa. I thought I took a class that was like, much farther away than it actually was. So I guess mostly it feels like it's gone by pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess maybe that's a better like pivot to the question. Like, in what ways has it felt like it's gone by fast? In what ways has it felt like it's dragged on? I know, like, for me, like, a lot of the people I've met, it's like I feel like I've known them forever.
Yeah.
And I've only known them for, like you were saying earlier, like, I've known you guys forever, But some of the people I've met, like, it feels like I've known them forever, but it's really only been 3 years. But when it comes to just, like the classes and like the living experience and like every other way, I just feel like it's like flown by. Like, I cannot believe it's time for senior year.
Yeah, I think it was seeing some of my older friends graduate this year. I was like, oh no, the Reaper's
alone.
coming, because like you'd find them in the same classes when I was a freshman. A lot of the people that were on the trap and ski team, they're also in my classes, so I got to be friends with them, and then that felt like it went way too soon. I felt like I didn't hang out with them enough because they're all gone away now.
Yeah.
I'm like, But other than that, definitely looking at classes that I've taken, those being like years ago, are insane. Like all the freshman year classes, and then looking at dorm pictures, and that's crazy because looking back at like I lived in Whitehall. It was like this small little old dorm, but I also looked different. I had like I had really long hair for some reason.
We don't talk about that.
I mean, it's in the thumbnails of these videos. It's crazy to see like how much like my face has changed and stuff. But yeah, so like I guess photos and then people graduating would be for me.
I think like early on it went by slower. I think the last like 15 months went by much quicker. I think for me I was just like, not that the prereqs are like bad, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. Like, it felt like some of the courses applied, but a large amount didn't. So that was kind of frustrating for me.
What was
for a
your
little
dumbest
bit.
class? Like, what was the most useless class that you took?
Well, I really liked the teacher, so I'm sorry to. She was a great lady, but it was monsters and world literature.
I also had a monsters course.
Yeah, and it was cool.
What?
I just again, what I'm doing, it's like the opposite side of the spectrum, right? So like, just felt like, oh man, this is what I'm paying for right now.
When I
wanna
insert
take that
this
class.
IV, think of Dracula.
yeah, right.
I want to take that
Second
class.
Blood,
That
yeah.
sounds fun.
Yeah, so that class was like, because there was a 10-page paper at the end too. I'm like, oh, you gotta
That's the
yeah.
worst.
So
What monster did you write about?
I don't even. It was like we had like all these stories we read throughout the thing, so I think we had to like put them all together and write a thesis.
that's
and-
ridiculous.
So it was like
Yeah,
Hotel Transylvania. I just made
It did have some of the classics, and it went like to some like really freaky, weird new books that have come out recently, like called it's called Fever Dream, and it was just like the underlying message of the book was something about in Argentina they're like using pesticides on the crops, but then like the kids turned into it was freaky. I'm not gonna lie. What was the question?
We were
Sorry, I
talking about
derailed
monsters.
it. I
Inc.
derailed it.
Did things go by fast?
Oh yeah, the beginning.
Which things went by fast?
Yeah, the beginning slow and fast because we were cramming so much into like such a short time. So I think it made it go by faster. Yeah, I think that's how I felt. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. What advice do you guys have now that we're at the end of the tunnel, almost at the end, about halfway through, stuck in traffic? What advice do you have for people who are going into college, going into their second year of college, or maybe even like still in high school?
Why don't you go first, Matt?
Yeah, why don't you answer your own
You weren't
question?
supposed to do that. I was supposed to take your thoughts and mold them. Advice. I'm gonna say this in like a super cheesy way, but like just let the good times roll. I mean, like there's
Gross.
gonna be stuff that you don't like. There's gonna be stuff that you really like. It's just like you just gotta go through it, do what you want. Like there are gonna be people who like. I think a lot of people kind of go in with this pressure of like, I have to join every club, I have to do every paper. Like, don't. Do what you want to do. Have in the back of your mind that like, this opportunity could help your career. you could assume this position in this club if you do this, whatever it is. But like listen to what your heart wants and what you want to do. Don't let roommates like press you to do anything, or but also like, all right, I'm going to change it. Find a balance is what I'm going to say. Like, don't kill yourself doing work. Don't just like shut the door, lock it, and sleep 24 hours a day. Try to find a balance that you're comfortable with. This is what I'll say.
Yeah, that's a real good point, Matt. Mine was going to be kind of similar to that, so I changed it. I was going to say, take advantage of opportunities, and every like little campus job or club or whatever is a chance to meet people and stuff like that. But I think I'm gonna say that like everything passes. So like even if you're having like a hard time for a little bit, like that goes away, like eventually things will be different. But then I think like one thing that I've learned throughout college is like the good times also kind of pass, and like whether you're like super close with someone this year and then very naturally no hard feelings, things like you become less close with someone, just kind of like living with that and not thinking like, oh, like what did I do wrong, is something wrong, or this class was so awesome and now it's gone, or this class sucks and now it's finally gone. Like just kind of accepting that everything must pass, and like really just like when you think about it that way, it kind of helps you enjoy the good things more while you're in the moment, but it also makes like the bad things kind of not as bad. And I feel like, I hope this makes sense, but thinking about those two things relatively also helps. So like if something bad's going on, be like, oh, well, that awesome vacation I had, that passed. It's like, obviously this is like a hyperbole and it's a stupid example, but it can help. When things suck, it's finals week and I have a million things to do, and I was, my boss just chewed me out at work for whatever. Just understanding and like really like reflecting on that, everything kind of ends and everything passes through. If you can go into college or go into really anything with that mindset, I think it kind of helps. It helps you appreciate things more, and it helps you, get through some of the rough stuff.
Yeah. I guess my piece of advice, if you're like specifically going to college, is find your groups wherever you go. I was very solo my first year. I didn't do any homework with people. I didn't join any clubs, and in doing so, like every class I go to now, I find a group of people. Like we do projects, we do homework together. Like every new club, everything I join, I try to create like a little community there, because it's so like college is so much easier and more enjoyable when you have like certain people, like certain groups for certain things, like class friends to do all your stuff with, or like drinking buddies, or like a group of people to like go and like for me trap and ski. Like having that it makes your life, one day like compartmentalizes it. So like you work with your work group, you have fun with your fun group, and you shoot with your shoot group.
You don't want to shoot with a bunch of fun people.
No.
things get a little bit crazy.
But it's cool. And then, obviously the groups can interblend. But that's what really made college just a lot easier, a lot more fun for me.
Yeah.
I think for me, I'm happy I went last so I could think about it. Just kind of keep perspective. I kind of similar to Derek's, but I think a big thing that I learned from just being at the different sites I went to. So I used to work a job at Honeydew, right? It would be slammed in the morning. People would be pissed that their coffee's taking forever, right? Mm-hmm. And then, I kind of started going to these clinical sites, and, there's people with, like, all sorts of diseases, cancer, whatever. They're much happier than the people waiting in line to get coffee. It was totally, like, I've met, like, 21-year-olds with cancer, and, like, I'm 21, you guys are 21, like, roughly. It's kind of crazy. So I think to keep that perspective of like, could always be worse. We're all right. We're doing okay. This might be things that suck. It doesn't mean that your problems don't mean anything, but I think it's important to just kind of remember could always be worse. Keep the perspective, that sort of thing. So.
But my coffee when it's really burnt. No, that was a wonderful answer.
That was very nuanced. I kind of put it as a shame.
Clip that. Yeah.
No, I like all your stuff. That was all good stuff, though. It's like good reminders to hear, for sure.
I'm so glad you didn't go first. Guys, we are almost done with our reunion episode. We're almost done with our college experience. And any final thoughts, pieces of advice, stories you want to share about college or classes, professors, anything like that?
I felt that at my university, and I'm sure it's similar, the type of people who typically go to work at a university, especially as like a professor or as any of like the student support services, like they really do want to help. And I think like just kind of like, not like thinking that these people are like super scary people helps. Like Joe said, like Joe didn't like love that class, but like the professor was super cool. Like I think just kind of like realizing that is super fun. Like I just really enjoyed like making connections with professors or like making connections with people in like the student development office or the admissions office where I worked and stuff like that. Like people are usually the type of people who go into this job, they want to collaborate with students, so kind of not feeling embarrassed to be like, hey, can I bother you for a second? Like a lot of people will be excited when people come to their offices and stuff like that. So that's one thing that I thought.
That's a good piece of advice.
Yeah. So we're still, I guess we're still rolling with the.
I guess we're doing more advice. That's
more advice.
Second round. My bad.
Get a gun,
Joe. You better have a good one to top that. No, you don't.
I think that was the best piece I got.
Yeah. I guess rolling with the group stuff. Always go to office hours. Like I guess. Yeah. Go ahead. Your professors are there to help. But if you do happen to have bad ones, there's always Rate My Professor to show the bad ones.
100%.
And it is a lot of angry people who did bad in the class. But if you swim through the trash, you can find some good reviews, and they can give you some solid advice. Definitely wish I learned that sooner. I had a couple of bad professors, a lot of great ones, a lot of fantastic ones, but just like 2 or 3 of them that really pissed me off. But so you can avoid that easily. Rate My Professor.
I guess just those little things that you kind of keep pushing off, just do them, get them done. I found that sometimes I'd push those small things off, and then finals week would be there. I'm like, oh man, I don't got time to do. Like, you know what I mean? So it builds up. It's a snowball. But also don't work too hard. I think that, like Matt said, balance is a good thing to have. Don't take it too seriously, of course, and I think that's all I got.
The best given advice, Joe. Going into the right industry. All right. That concludes this reunion episode of Senioritis. We may be back. If not, you'll see us at possibly film sets, possibly doing some software stuff, and then saving lives over there, Joe. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.